Let's run that back.
Yeah, welcome back to Lovecraft Country Review. If y'all only knew what happened on the first take. Raven's not here. She'll be here for the finale. We're going to go through episodes 7, 8, and 9 here. She's off doing lawyerly things and trying to live a real adult life while we review this dope show. How y'all fellas been doing? For the
Turn
last
around being fuck niggas.
Right. How y'all been feeling about the last couple episodes?
Man, it's just got crazy. It's been real extra. It's interesting because, you know, we watched the last 3 episodes. You know, you have the episode where you follow Hippolyta all through, and then you have the episode when you follow Dee all through, and then you kind of have, you know, the last one from when they go back in time with the Oklahoma City bombing. You're getting these slices of character development that has to pay off right at the season finale, because it doesn't make sense that you see all these things about these characters unless there's some grand, you know, scheme to tie it all together. And again, I haven't read the books. I don't necessarily see it yet. I have a couple ideas, but I'm really interested to see what the writers and how the directors kind of tie all the story together, because you have all this information about these characters without any real thing that ties them all together at this point in time.
Oh, wow. Okay, Ted.
I kind of agree. There was just a lot of unexpected twists and turns, you know. It lends itself for us to create our own ideas and narratives of what's about to happen. I like how Tick has his own destiny. Like, he was kind of pulled into what was about to happen. Like, so, you know, we saw up until this point that he was trying to dodge what old girl from was it Korea? What she said, Naruto, what she had put out there. And for a minute, I thought he was going to get away from it, because I was like, well, you know, after the book of names and all the rest of his stuff, like, I don't see how he's going to be pulled into her grasp. Like, you know, we see her weaving, you know, her work around Ruby. But I didn't see how Tick was going to end up sacrificing himself until I saw D, right? And that was the payoff, because I was like, what else? Because at first I thought it was going to be Letty once he found out that she was pregnant. But I was like, but then they flipped it, because they gave her, you know, the invincibility charm or scar or whatever it is, where she couldn't be hurt. So I was like, well, there goes that. So I was like, I have absolutely no idea how they're going to pull him into, like, being in a place where he has to get, where he has to sacrifice himself. And that D was like the furthest thing to my mind, which is probably purposeful, because they don't, like Scott said, like, they do so much involved, in-depth character development with each character, like, up until this point. Because, I mean, the last episode is next week, you know, the finale is next week. All the stuff with D happened at the very end, right?
Yeah.
So there was nothing up until this point. There was nothing there leading saying that D was going to be a part of it. Like, I almost thought she was going to be the sister off of Full House. You know, the one that just kind of disappeared. Like, they was like, oh, we just don't have a kid.
You talking about Family Matters?
Family Matters, yeah. Family Matters.
You remember when I made that script for the reboot where she had a heroin addiction?
I think she treated
you know life. What?
No, remember that was one of my most listened to episodes ever.
Yeah.
When I dropped that, and that was all off the cuff, man. They're gonna steal that, because that's how you bring her back and say she had a heroin addiction.
What's funny is it goes back to what we were just saying earlier today with them doing that the whole auntie thing from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like, it can work now. You know what I mean? That's the move.
Call it Judy.
Judy. You don't use her real name. No, bro. You got to use her porn name.
Crave.
Crave. There it is.
Can we at least acknowledge that the most horrifying thing that happened in all of this season was when Tick walked into the room and his ex was sitting at the table.
Hey.
Yo, no. The first scary part is when he realized that it was possible when he was at the steps. Like, when he was walking up, he was like, hold up.
Oh, yeah, because he saw her shoes.
Yeah.
He was like,
hold up. the best. It'd have been better if he walked down the steps though, like he was gonna leave or something. No, like they turned around, like that'd have been like a real reaction.
It was absolutely terrifying. Like my heart dropped. You know? What? No.
I was like, what's gonna happen? I was like, I was concerned.
Hey,
That was a horror moment.
They having a whole conversation about you without you even.
Right. That was truly terrifying.
And you gotta think this is pre-technology. They probably sat there for 6 hours. They ain't got nothing to do.
Right. And then what's even worse was they weren't talking when he walked in. When they walked in, they just looking at each other. Like,
So they said everything they supposed to say.
Hey, he walked in. He was like, "Hold on. What'd she tell you?" Before I get my answer, what did she tell you though?
My thing is like, and going back to what Scott just said, the fact that they were just sitting there, that means that they were literally waiting for you. They ran out of everything they was gonna say and waiting for you. So it's all on you coming in. All that energy is directed towards you.
an absolute nightmare. I can't.
So what y'all think about? I guess we can go like to episode 6, which was the episode with isn't that the episode with?
Six was in Korea.
Yeah, right. Oh no, we need to do 7, 8, 9. I'm sorry, 7. Episode 7. Going back to 7. 7.
That's Hippolyta, right?
Yeah, Hippolyta. What did y'all think about the futuristic black woman?
It was I had no clue, bro. Like Scott was saying, like, it's just with that sort of character development, like basically I just thought, I was like, yo, they just turned this black woman into a superhero.
Yeah.
Like literally, like she went full Goku, went out, did zero base training or whatever it's called, zero gravity training.
Mhm.
Like literally just becoming anything and everything that she wanted to be. You know what I mean? She pledged, you know what I'm saying? She went back into, you know, ancient Africa and pledged with the Dahomey tribe and, you know, the Dahomey Amazons, like the whole nine, bro. And I'm like,
what's crazy is that if moving fast forward, we could just talk about Hippolyta for a second. Remember, didn't she say something like, I was in something that was like 150 years in y'all time?
Yeah, it was like
200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought she became Dee's comic book character because she ended up with blue hair at the end.
That's true. That's very true. That is
I
what
never thought. That's a good observation. That's good.
Very
I didn't even
much
think about that.
I thought she became Dee's comic book character. But what messed me up though was that, you know, from a timeline standpoint, it would have made sense if Dee made a comic book character based on the events of her mother. But it's like her mother, having read her daughter's comic book, decided to do the things that the character in the comic book did. I also feel like, you know, I know in today's climate, I feel like, you know, questioning a woman's decision is dangerous. But she could have waited just a couple more minutes before she got locked in with those powers before she decided to come back home, right? Like she could have just got fully embraced into the society, you know, where you could just call your name and be that. You know, I'm the Hulk, you know, and then you have
the Hulk now.
you have to worry about your daughter getting in problems or having trouble. Like you can solve that problem. I mean, I feel like she should just went ahead and just, you know, finish that ceremony first, then went back home.
And it was interesting, Hippolyta. Her backstory gave you so much like background into George, because you basically George, basically everybody is super flawed in this, is what we finding out. George basically was kind of like, yo, you just kind of just stay on this train. We finna get paid. I'm got these books popping. Just stay in position. And she was wanting to be bigger than that, you know, wanted to be more than that. But then at the same time, did she fall back on her own, or did George push it? Or was one of the things where George has never nurtured what she could become? Or I wouldn't say nurture, because that sounds like he was allowing. I mean more like was pushing, like, well, like, yo, do your thing too. You know, just don't ride on everything on me.
I don't know, man. I look at it like, it's weird, bro, because it plays with so many different ideas at the same time. But it also mixes like past and present and future kind of. So like the idea of a woman being able to do those things back in those times wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Like that wasn't a thing. Like people are conforming to however society says that they're assimilating, right?
Yeah.
To whatever the culture is. So it's hard for me to say like it's weird. I don't even want to put that out there. Like it's because I don't want to be like you're falling. It's hard to blame somebody because they're conforming to whatever society's going with. Because in that same notion, you could be like, well, white people was beating black people, and that was okay then. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you can't really blame white people for doing that then. But that's a completely different. You know what I'm saying? That's a different level. But it's hard to say like somebody like everybody. I guess the only person that isn't flawed is like Hippolyta, right? Because she literally just turned into a superhero
and literally became a god.
This is the worst review to not have a woman on to get her therapy.
Right, exactly.
That's very true. Very true.
Exactly. But I feel like the whole thing is is pushed to highlight, at least to me, the strength of black women. Like that's as much as I thought it was about Tick, it's to me, especially because it's produced and basically written and directed by Misha Green. It's really highlighting the power and empowering black women, and showing like the struggles, even up till now, like how much still hasn't changed. They're just using Tick as a, not even really Tick. It's just like Tick is just more of the dynamic of, the way that men push women to do these things. Because Tick ain't really Tick without Letty.
This is true. I did have one thing that I like to say, or at least add, is I think it's interesting what they decide not to show. So, and I know we're going to break down each episode to some extent between 7 and 9, but if you look at what we know today, we now saw all this information about Hippolyta, and we see how much George failed her in his ability to allow her to grow and expand and become more. But then in episode 9, we go back in time and see George's relationship to Tick's mother, whose name I forget, but he had a romantic interest in her, and maybe he's Tick's dad, maybe he's not. But they leave out really all the gaps of George's and Hippolyta's relationship. Like they have this daughter that we imagine to be both of theirs, and that relationship, how it came together, how they met, how Montrose becomes married to Tick's mother, and the creation of Tick, how it could have happened and transpired, all that's left out. And I feel like it's very intentional for such an obvious plot point not to be discussed in the first 9 episodes, but all these other tangential and adjacent plot points being not only showed, but talked to at length. So I feel like there is something in that story, and again, I don't know quite what, but there's something in that story that is critical and important to the overall story that we've seen, the story arc that we've seen this season. Now, again, I've never read the book, so I don't know how much this is.
Yeah, they went all off from the book from what I've read. They went totally somewhere else. So what Ted is saying is something real to think about, of the idea of really the power of black women.
The other thing I thought was interesting, which was weird, Tick's mom, like Scott was saying, I forget her name, but her sister was also interested in George, right?
Yeah.
Is that true? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally the black women are heroes. Like Letty's the one that gets the book. You watch the grandmother that kept the book literally pull the Buddhist monk. You know what I'm saying? Catch on flames in front of her. Letty's walking through, bombs being dropped off. The whole thing is being powered by Hippolyta, who's now become, like you said, basically a god. And basically the men are the only, I don't want to say it's not redeeming, but the only sort of savior moment out of that entire part was when, which is also weird, playing with this time conundrum.
Yeah, we can go in there, go into it then.
Is when Tick, I don't know if that's like foreshadowing or whatever, but Tick comes and saves his father.
That's that Terminator shit, baby.
Yeah, man, that's it. I mean, it's crazy. So it's like he's his father's savior before and after.
So she's been screaming at me off camera this entire time.
Go ahead, Shay.
My eyes break, so she had something to say.
Ted, everything that you just said is everything I said to Scott started this podcast. Also, the women's empowerment and women being badasses and all power to the women, in which in the last episode, then Hippolyta brings it back. And though she comes back from the future, she's still that badass that's helping them to get back to where they need to get the book. And then you see all of this stuff with these powerful women doing these amazing things to make sure they have everything that they need.
Shout out to the missus.
To the missus. Hey, is it black women are the future?
Yeah.
And apparently the past.
And a celestial.
And it's like, hey man, we birthed out the universe.
But I want to go into this Terminator aspect though, because I want to talk about how they was playing with time a lot with everything. So, and this is something I think me and Ted have talked about a whole bunch of times, like trying to piece together this timeline to see when Tick could have been born.
Right.
This is around this time. When they were traveling to Chicago, I think it's something happened in between. Because remember, they all ran away together. And he said things happen where things, and then I wonder if Hippolyta has something to do with this in some kind of fashion. Like, what if she, I mean, because we know that but see, that's the thing though, because remember originally, didn't they say that Montrose went to World War II? I mean, World War I, right? He went to World War I, right?
World War I.
I don't recall that part, but he could have.
Because Tick said my dad went to military too and everything. Remember at the beginning, he was talking about his dad was in the military too.
Korea was after World War I and II.
Right. And that's
right.
what
But Tick was in Korea, not Montrose.
Right.
Oh.
So maybe he could have been in World War II because World War II ended in 1946.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering, I was sitting there, I was like, Scott just said, like, what is this missing small pieces, man, where it's like, if you can get a couple of these, you could fit it all together. Because I'm like, you're talking about 1921 is the Tulsa riots. But
right.
So between 1921 and we're assuming Tick is around early 20s, y'all think 21, 22?
I feel like he's either 18 or 21.
So he's somewhere in there. So he's
already have been back from Korea.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. If he went and Korea was over in 51, 52, me and Ted figured out. So let's say he's 20, just to keep it easy math.
It's 55.
It's 55. It was over, but
no,
he came back. It's 51 now, right?
No, I thought episode 1 said it was 1955.
Okay.
He's riding that bus back.
Okay. So let's say he's 20. So that would make him born in 1935.
Hold on. Actually, we have some. We have to look up when Emmett Till's.
There you go. That's a good one right there. I thought it was 50. Is it? So it might be 54.
So yeah, he died. Emmett Till died August 28th, 1955.
Okay. So this is 1955.
Yeah.
So let's say Tick is 20. He was born in 35. The Tulsa riot is 21. Is 1921. So there's 14 years. What's going on with that 14 years of time period?
No, that's about right, because if you think about it, that's around the age that his dad could have shipped off. Well, when did World War II end?
World War II ended like 46.
Okay, so then there's the overlap. Wait. He's 30, so he was born before he went then, right?
Yeah, that's
so when did it start?
Well, the U.S. didn't get into till 42. When did Pearl Harbor happen? 41, 42 or something like that?
I thought it was 41.
Yeah, but we was only in it for a few years comparatively to everybody else. It was in it like damn near 10.
I'm just thinking of when he would have gotten, like, my guess was that Montrose left for the war, and that's when it happened. Or, now that we think about it, I guess it just depends. No, because you wouldn't say that.
But I'm saying it's a 14-year period between them kicking it and him being born, in theory.
Well, them kicking it, because you're using 21 as the start point.
Right, and in 21, they went to prime. So let's say they're 16, 17.
So, okay, let's start there. So we know it's 1921 when episode 9 happens.
Yep.
And this episode 9, not the crappy one, not the crappy Star Wars episode 9.
Right.
So how old do we believe they are at that time?
They were
I
going to
thought
prom, so I'm assuming 15 to 16.
I think there was a dance. I don't think it was prime, right? Because them kids, I did not place them at 16. I placed them like at like 13, like somewhere between 11 and
No,
13.
I think it was
Let's,
prom.
let's call it 15. Let's call it
Okay,
15.
let's go 15. Let's just say 15.
So it was 1921 and they're 15. The end of World War II is in 1945. So now they have to be in their mid 30s to go into that war. Unless they decide to do World War One, but I don't know.
It couldn't be World War One because World War One is 1917 and 1920,
Okay,
21, 22.
yeah. So
That's the irony about the Tulsa riots is that they was doing that while we were in World War One.
okay, so now we're talking about. So basically, they go to World War II as real adults, late 20s, early 30s, come back early 30s, mid 30s, and then but Tick already has to be born because if in 1955 he's coming back from Korea, then he had to be gone if Montrose went to World War II. World War II, he had already been born, so Montrose had to leave while he was there. But the thing is, they never talk about that gap. They talk about Montrose beating Tick all the time, him having a rough life, and him going to see Uncle George. They never talk about a gap in which, well, it was only fine when you was going to the war for all those years, and we were worried about you, this, that, and other. So I feel like neither Uncle George or Montrose went to the war.
So do you think that? I don't know. It's weird, bro. Because I'm like, I almost feel like she was with Montrose. She figured out that Montrose was who he was, and I just can't. It's weird for me to be like.
You're saying that she may have caught him doing something, then went to the comfort of George.
Well,
but I feel. Go ahead, Scott.
Well, I was just gonna say. So there's a couple things about Montrose that is at least uncomfortable. So first off, we look at it, okay, right? So he says to Tick, his mother knew, Tick's mother knew who Montrose was, and he never cheated on him. So we take that at face value. That's one thing. But again, we're in episode 9. We don't know what the hell was Montrose doing out in Connecticut in the first place. Why was he mad at Uncle George and Tick coming to get him when he was locked in a dungeon? Why did he murder that hermaphrodite after they found the book of names? Or not the book of names, the lost pages. And moreover, why introduce that character just to be killed 10 minutes later and give no context or motivation as to why he made that decision? It's like we don't know. One of the big glaring things about the story is that Montrose is playing this important character that's supposed to want what's best for his family, want to protect his son, but we have no idea what his motivations are because he makes all these decisions that seem pretty strange. Like not trusting Christina because she is the daughter of a white supremacist that was trying to sacrifice you to open up the gates of heaven. Seems reasonable, except the other person who could help you translate these pages, you just slit her throat or slit their throat for no damn reason or explanation. It's like, well, why are you doing the things you're doing?
I wonder, and this is just me completely hypothesizing. I know I saw some article pop up about Misha Green saying that she feel like she failed the hermaphrodite
she did
storyline.
Yeah, she did.
And I didn't read it, but I'm just assuming maybe they cut it. Like that was one of the things they sliced on, on post. Like there's probably a lot more to it. But a piece of me is thinking that Montrose, she knew what Montrose, who he was. And he was worried about that being leaked. Because Tick found out on the back end, right? Like he was coming over to the house and dude was up there with old boy from the beginning. But I also feel like Tick's movement, like he was also trying to grab or figure out the book of names to do what he was trying to do in this past episode, which is somehow either revive or visit the kid that got killed, that got shot in the head, like his first love at the time, right? Because Montrose is the one that has the most understanding. Because how did Montrose know that poem? Do we know? Didn't he say his dad made him like
he did. I think his dad did make him.
Which is also weird, right? Because that's a weird poem to be instilling in your kid.
Yeah, because I'm the reason I'm just wondering how long. I think like, and I've said this before. I think Hippolyta and Tick's mom have some overlap going on too, and I think that's part. I think that's the main reason that nobody that they did this whole setup of not letting them know who Tick's father was.
Well, that's why I thought that the girl that asked about George was Hippolyta at first. Now, that's probably not true.
That could be. I mean, we don't know that relationship, so I don't know.
But that would also make her old girl's sister.
Yeah, which would be really weird. That's
really weird. But this is Lovecraft Country. But the reason why I think that's Hippolyta is because why else? Like, what would be the point of her being in the story at that moment?
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, there have to be some things that were subtly introduced that we're missing, because the story as a whole doesn't make any sense. And I refuse to believe that this story told the way it's been told to this point just was happened by happenstance. I have to believe that there's an overall narrative direction, and that we're just missing it. And for instance, we spent all of episode 6 back in Korea understanding that relationship. And then in episode 8,
she shows up.
He shows up, and it's only in the episode like 3 minutes. Like, we see her sitting there when Letty walks in. They have that big blow up. Then Tick says, "Get the hell out of here! I don't ever see you again." And then she's just gone. Like, this is a woman. This is a Naruto woman who flew from Korea to Chicago in 1955 and sat at a B&B in Northside Chicago, waiting for you to get there, and then she just let you go, get the hell out of here, and she bounced out. Like, I feel like she has to show up in episode 10.
Oh, she most definitely is. She most definitely is.
My life for episode 6. Like, no.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because like, what is the purpose of her overall besides letting him know that he's supposed to die?
Right.
But why was she? Well, I don't know. It's really weird because she was there to try to get him back, correct?
Yeah.
And
try to save him. And try to save him.
Well, she couldn't because she didn't know the dream, right? Like, she couldn't tell how it was going to happen. She just saw him strung up, right?
Right.
And that was the assumption that he was going to die. So I feel like she's going to place it. She's going to end up sacrificing herself or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, she's like, why introduce her as a magical creature instead of just, a shaman? Like, she could have just been like a Korean shaman woman,
Right.
Yeah.
The woman that was there watching over her be this Naruto girl.
Yeah, like why make her a demon fox if she doesn't have some type of magical power? But again, it's another magical person that's in your life, and if you don't trust Christina, seems like better to have that ally. Like,
agreed.
Yeah.
Like, why not have that ally? Like,
since we talking about Christina, let's dive into her and Ruby particularly.
Hold on, before we do that,
go ahead.
My only question is, she wants to be with Tick, but the other weird part about it is she couldn't be with Tick because
she'd kill him.
She'd kill him.
Not unless she sleeps with someone else first.
No. Remember, she said that remember, he said, "Did you sleep with your 100th person?" She said, "Yeah, it's going to keep continuing." She said, "Remember, he asked me, will it stop?" And she said, "No."
No, I thought she was still at 99 and she refused.
Yeah, I thought Tick was the 100th.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she was saying like basically like it's going to continue regardless if I get the 100th or not. That was what the woman said though too. Remember?
I missed
that. No. I thought that's what was speculated. I thought that was they were.
But I
questioning.
thought she said that too to Tick. Like he was like basically like, "So are you gonna continue this?" And she's like, "It's gonna continue forever." I thought she was saying something like that. Let me Google and see. Keep going.
Yeah. So I was just trying to figure out like she would have to go get this other 100th person, but at the same time they still don't know if the curse will break or not, right? So what Dee's saying could still be true. So she still couldn't have a relationship because anytime she gets physical, she's snatching souls, right?
Could you imagine rooting for your girl to cheat on you with somebody else?
You be setting them up. You be putting cats niggas in cats drink.
You on Tinder trying to like swipe right and left?
Right. No, you definitely looking for where the hoes at, man. Oh no, I got you, bro. Just come on down to Koreatown.
Dang, that's messed up. Like, it's a whole bunch of cats.
Hey.
I mean, that's why I was thinking it was a situation where, she's the same overall all the time.
Well,
Funny
they
thing,
said
though,
that they
I forgot
don't
to
know.
mention to y'all though. Do y'all remember the Real World San Diego?
No.
Vaguely.
That's the Asian girl from the Real World San Diego.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if y'all remember her, it was the black dude from Morehouse, the little nerdy dude with the glasses. She was an Asian girl in there. If y'all Google it, that's her from Real World San Diego.
Wasn't there a dude that like became a wrestler or something?
That was on Real World New York. That's The Miz.
The Miz, okay.
The Miz.
And he was doing that character on Real World back then.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's the crazy. He was acting like that. He was like, "This is The Miz."
That's staying character, man.
Yes, but so let's go into Christine and Ruby, man. Like Christine basically said, "Yeah, I'm gonna kill him."
But Ruby don't care though.
Right. That's pretty ill, though, is it not?
It's
the idea that she's willing to sacrifice somebody. Because remember, she's basically going to get another body. Because she says, "I always wanted to be a redhead, though." Like she need to handle that if we gonna get Tick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying, is it messed up that she's willing, that she was as able to process Tick's potential death? It is, but given what they've seen at this point in time, it's like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, if there's any situation where you're like, yo, some of my friends may not survive this situation, that is definitely it. Like we're talking about time travel, people switching bodies and races and sexes, and and vampire demons coming out the ground eating cops, and protection spells to stop you from, like, it's like, I mean, and those are times like, yo, everybody may not survive this. Like it is what it is. Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, but I think she's doing it for benefit though, not necessarily because, we in the middle of all this different stuff.
If I'm gonna lose my people, I definitely better benefit out of it.
But that's the thing. I think there's an assumption that they are people, right? Like Ruby doesn't really have that much interaction with Tick. It's all Letty, right? And so their relationship is by proxy. So even outside of that, when they had that conversation, like, you got to think about it. The last time she had a conversation with Letty, she was basically dogging Tick. She was saying, like, you were over here chasing him, doing all these crazy ideas or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Don't let that get you killed or hurt or whatever, which is how they ended up having the conversation, how she's even messing with Christina in the first place. Because she was like, oh, I got, this, what was it, the curse or whatever, to the protection spell on me. Right. And they started having a conversation about like something needed to save D. And she was like, yeah, Christina will listen to me. Right?
So are they in a relationship?
I feel like they are.
Yeah. I definitely feel like there's no dude. This white woman put herself through Emmett Till's death.
Yeah.
If she not trying to ride for Ruby, I don't know what other reason there is for you to do that.
Yeah, she's definitely done more for that relationship than I've done for any relationship I've been. Don't keep it 110. I'm gonna keep it a buck here.
Hey, my wife could definitely be like, well, you don't know what it's like to be pregnant. I'm not finna go find out. I'm gonna just trust you. I'm like, you right. Whatever you say.
It hurts.
That's real.
So hold on. I mean, and the thing that was horrific about the Christine, think about that was really what happened to Emmett Till. And I don't think anybody's ever visualized it like that, where you could see it.
Oh, I thought that was the whole purpose. Like almost the whole purpose of the episode was for it to, because that was the other, wasn't that was Emmett Till, right? Where his mom was like, leave the casket open so they could see.
Yes.
What he did.
That's why people are coming out. That's why people are coming out throwing up.
Right.
At the funeral.
So they just took it a step further. It was like, yeah, let's show you how this happens. And we also got to see why the sheriff looked the way that he did.
Because he's taking people's body parts.
Yeah. That's sick fuck.
But because remember when he took his shirt off at the first with the dude in the closet, I guess they
he looked like
body
Zangief
parts, right?
on the shoulders.
Yeah, but they was using that guy's
Yeah.
parts, right? That white guy in the closet at first that we was trying to
Yeah.
That's his parts they were using.
they were using his parts, I think, for the sheriff, along with the black people, all kind of people. I think he was like a mixed match, like a Frankenstein mismatch of parts.
Yeah, I'm glad he got it.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It's going back. So basically, that talisman that Ruby put in there stops him from doing his healing factor.
Oh, really?
That's what she put in to have him put in his drawer. Was that talisman? He can't. Every time he tries to heal himself, it just regenerates even worse.
Oh.
Yeah, he was like, or Kurt, she was like, I got to watch you die 1,000 times,
Right.
or whatever. Or regenerate 1,000 times, but nothing's been as good as this, or whatever.
Like Christine is real diabolical, man, because I think she taught Tick that spell because she knew that he was going to have a situation with that sheriff to try to kill him because she wanted him dead anyway.
No, I mean, I get it. I mean, she definitely is playing by a different set of rules than everybody else. I mean,
Well, she also said that she's been planning this to the T for, a long time. So none of this, like, it's almost like all of this is orchestrated. It wouldn't even surprise me if she messed around and wrote the book that Tick jumped back the portal with.
can I talk about that for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, I'm a Doctor Who fan. I love Terminators. So I'm here for some time travel. But the paradox that they created is baffling. It's baffling. There's something else that has to happen because at one point in time in that show, Letty is there, pregnant with Tick's son.
Mm-hmm.
Also there with both potential Tick's fathers, even before they created Tick in that moment. But Tick is there to save either one of his potential fathers' lives at the same time. And the question becomes, well, if Tick had did the bat swing by that iteration of his father, then Letty would have came back and brought the Book of Names back. So something has to happen between the time they come back that resolves this year and also destroys the Book of Names, because otherwise Letty, if the Book of Names is not destroyed by whenever that resolution is, they should have had the Book of Names already, because at least one time before, Tick went back in time with Letty and Montrose.
You on the Reese theorem doesn't go here. Reese is still his father because he sent his own father back in time. And you just don't try to do nothing with it.
No. So it's
just let it be.
Maybe it's just timelines converging, or like what they say, like you change one thing and
Butterfly effect, baby.
Yeah, like the timeline changes. So I totally understand what you're saying, Scott. And it's weird because it's like there's never a first time. Like it's a constant feedback loop.
Right, but Tick hasn't been Tick at that point. Let's just say they're 15. Tick hasn't the sperm that eventually will become Tick hasn't
right.
Yeah,
it hasn't happened yet. Right, but he's already back. But I think, I don't know. Maybe it's just, again, we're talking portals. So I just wonder if it's different timelines. Like if it's a different Tick constantly coming through and setting that in motion. Because like how Hippolyta was being able to go back and kick it with the homies and then go to the future and be in Paris and all the rest of that stuff.
So you're saying different worlds. You're saying different worlds are different timelines.
I was thinking different timelines. I mean, she's a space traveler, so it could also be different worlds, different dimensions.
Yeah, I mean, her and Jordan were a literal different planet. Like that was no version of Earth. That was just something else.
I mean, or you could look at it like this.
She did say
like,
that though, right?
I'm sorry, what now?
She did say that though.
She said it's different worlds. Yeah.
What she said was a little weird. What she said is she went to Earth 509 or whatever like that.
Right.
For about 200 years. But what we see is we don't know whether or not the Josephine Baker world was our world back in time. We don't know. I mean, that could
be world 602.
that colonized world with like the African warrior princess. Mm-hmm. Like that didn't look like any version of Earth.
It wasn't. That's impeach me, I'm still going back to my original theory that all this shit's happening in
Tick's
Tick's
mind.
head, right? Because that was the other part about it. That's a good call, Scott. Because the homies, was that in the syllabus?
Yeah,
Those,
the homie tribe.
The homie tribe, they didn't fight off Confederates.
No,
That never happened.
no, they were fighting off like what the Dutch and stuff.
The Dutch, right? Exactly. So that's my point. But in the storyline, they were fighting Confederates.
Yeah, and that's not
So
even.
and then so it's not right.
And then
You say what?
and then after when her and George went to be, she named herself a explorer. They went to a different planet with different types of vegetation and animals and creatures on there. If that couldn't have been any form of Earth, could it?
Right. Or
No.
maybe it was. It just one in the distant future. Like, you know.
I mean, but there's also the way you could look at it as well that like when we did with the time loop, I know in Terminator they explain a time loop, or at least they try to explain a time loop, is that that character knows that this is happening. So John Connor in this situation knows he has to send his father back for him to exist. But then there's theories that basically John Connor, when he sent his dad back the very first time, because it becomes a loop, right?
Right.
That he knew that he wasn't originally by that person, but he needed that person to be sent back, but he knew that that person was going to end up becoming his father. If that makes sense.
He was creating the first.
He created
the first
time.
version.
He created the first time loop. That
Right.
first time loop when he sent Reese back originally.
Right, but here's the difference though. And what Scott's saying is that it's kind of like, perfect example. It's Back to the Future, right? If you go back and you see yourself there, then you're not the present version of yourself because it's already happened, right? So it's different when, well, no, time out.
No, because you got to think. Remember in Terminator 2, I believe all that stuff started happening. Like a new timeline was created with Reese being John Connor's new father.
And I'm okay with divergent time.
You see what I'm saying? So like all that timeline got changed.
That's it, but that's what Scott's saying. He's like, it's still the same timeline. He's like, the timeline never changed.
But we don't know if the timeline has changed. I'm going to what Scott's saying. Maybe Letty wasn't there getting the book before. That's another diversion of the timeline.
But she had to be, because the reason to go back in time
is to get the book.
Right.
If he's there to save Montrose and Uncle George's life, no one's there to get the book.
What if Letty's not there and it's only them two and they don't get to get the book on one of those?
So they don't get the book, then they all die.
No. I'm just saying, my whole thing is maybe there's certain things that happen in this present where Dee never gets caught up with the police. All those different things happen, but they still go in time to try to get this book regardless.
Well, no. I agree. They're going to use some narrative trick to get out of it. But I'm saying today, what we have.
You say as of right now.
Right now, we got a paradox that I'm keeping track of, and I'm expecting you to give me some explanation here. You know, something fishy going on right here, and that's what I'm saying for today.
But I think you might be right though, Scott. I think that's the first time.
But I think the first time because Montrose has already been saved.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's stuck in that loop. It's the loop of the first time.
But he also sees that vision at the beginning when he's dreaming. It's Jackie Robinson when he says, "Got you, kid." That's Jackie Robinson at the beginning.
Right. What I'm saying is, but that also came from his uncle telling him that story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He had told him that story before. That's how he knew that he said, "Got you, kid." But here's the part that I'm saying is different. He arrives and doesn't see himself swinging the bat. He has to go do it. You see what I'm saying? So like,
because that means there would be another person in another loop doing it already.
If it already happened, he would have seen himself over there swinging. So the version that went back is the one that we saw would be with Montrose sitting at that corner.
So he's in the present and the past at the same time because
exactly
that's a memory that his dad has because they did this coming up soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah.
But that's what's, but that's the paradox, right? Because let's just say we accept that's the first time it happened, but it always had to happen. now we move into a thing that they don't have free will. This is destiny.
Yep.
And now we move from them making decisions to destiny, because if he does not do it, if it always had to happen, then his father dies that day,
Mm-hmm.
and he's never born, and his son is never born.
Well, you nailed it. You nailed it. Because that also explains the situation with the girl in Korea, right? Because there's nothing that he can do to defy it. It's still a part of destiny, regardless of what happens.
That means he has to die then, right? He's destined to die.
Well, so here's the thing. I wonder if that was just a speculation because she didn't see the full dream out entirely. Because he asked like, "How does it happen?" He was like, "None. I just saw you, sprawled out." So that could just be assumption that he's dying. Like he could be getting drained,
Okay.
or he does die, but we dealing with witchcraft. People can come back to life, i.e., Letty.
Yeah. Well, last thing before we get out of here, what y'all think about the Topsy twins?
Phenomenal.
Yeah, that was scary, dog.
It was a little freaky.
It was.
And it's crazy because they had those real dolls and those real things. And did y'all trip off of the kids playing the jump rope? And they was basically kind of singing the Freddie song, but like a 50s version of it, like about Topsy.
Is that what it was?
Those are the white girls were singing the Topsy song. Yeah.
Can we mention how small Letty was walking back to get to his ladder's portal? He was walking so good.
I definitely thought that was the most time use of slow motion that I've seen.
She was not in a hurry at all. She was like, "I'm good, whatever."
Let me show these niggas how you actually walk through fire, nigga. This is how this works.
And what if the real heroes don't look behind them?
Yeah. Cool people don't look at the blast.
Yeah. Well, man, we gonna wrap this up. We're gonna come back next week with the finale and talk about what's potentially happening for the future. Maybe this is only one season, like Watchmen. I don't know. I would be kind of dope if it was an anthology series and they went to the 80s.
I hope so.
With the father. I mean, with the son. If they do kill Tick.
Were the Topsy twins supposed to be generational curses?
Ooh.
I hadn't thought about that.
I haven't thought about that. I thought it was a thing of like black girls always going through pain. And like when you were saying they're going through something and it's like unseen, everybody was like, I don't see what you're talking about. And you're like, no, dude, I'm going through this. You don't see what's happening. Oh, we need the wife back real quick.
I think she's left the room.
I don't know. The only reason why it made me think about it was something that she couldn't outrun. Right? She couldn't beat it. She couldn't outrun it. And
nobody else could see it. That's the thing. Nobody else could see it.
Nobody else could see it, but it was also put on her by white people.
Okay, ask your question again. Let's get a woman's input on it.
Well, my statement was, Shay, that the Topsy twins were basically showing the pain and struggle that black women go through or black children go through that are unseen. Like people can't see it, but they're getting scarred, they're getting hurt, but no one can see it and feel it.
What you got today?
I can see that.
D. Fry.
No, I can totally see that because their whole purpose was to inflict pain and suffering on someone else.
Right.
So Shay, I told them that I thought that the Topsy twins represented generational curses placed on black women by white people. Because they were chasing, she couldn't outrun it, she couldn't beat it. And once she was touched, she was afflicted with it and became it.
And a black man held her down for it to happen.
Here we go.
Okay, I'm going with Ted then. I see it, I'm more with that point of view. I didn't think about it that way, but, definitely, yeah. I'm with that. I can totally see that because it's like, but the whole thing is, it's like it's somebody haunting you and you know that they're coming for you, but there's nothing that you can do about it. So then how do you escape this, or who do you need to go to escape this? And in her situation, she's just like, hell, I'm going to try to fight them on my own, which she wasn't able to do.
Yeah.
Which is also weird now that you say that.
Because she
wonder if
becomes a
she got-
generational curse because she's a Topsy now.
You said what?
Is she become a generational curse because she's a Topsy now, turning into a
I
Topsy?
think, well, she's falling afflicted to it, but I'm thinking like, wasn't there a moment where she was running, like when Ruby went to go get Christina, and Christina was basically saying something along the lines like, had they gotten to her sooner,
Right.
Yeah.
then it would have happened. So since it was put on them by a white person, is it that only white people can take it off since it's a generational curse?
Well, no, and the guy is dead. That's why they need to get sooner,
Right,
because
right.
they had to go get the sheriff, and then she's like, "Oh, he died." And then remember,
Right,
but that's
right.
the messed up part about Christine, because she could have maybe kept him from not dying, though, to get the curse. She wanted to kill him.
Right, but that's my point in social commentary, that white people are afflicting black people, and only white people can remove them because they're the ones that do it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Social point.
Yeah.
Is there anything toward that the threat that faced black women or black girls isn't seen by everyone?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
100%.
D was saying.
Yeah.
I thought that was also real. That's the what do they call it? The microaggressions and all the rest of the stuff that people point out that that we
The
get
angry
the
black
gaslighting
girl, the
for.
angry black woman, and angry black girl, and not understanding what they're going through.
Yeah. It's like nobody sees our pain in that. Like, we're the only ones that can see it. I mean, it's like the shit that's going on in the world today. We know what's happening in our communities. We know, who's getting shot and who's getting locked up. But in everybody else's mind, it's like, that's not our issue, that's your issue. But more so now, we're seeing that there are more people getting involved with seeing it's more of a, an issue for everybody rather than people who are just the color of our skin.
D, I also think you nailed it too, though. Now I think about it, because as she's turning into these things, like she becomes, so those things that she was out trying to run or trying to outrun, stereotypes, the black, this and that, and she ends up becoming that, even though she's trying not to in the eyes of everybody else, right? So she's being gaslighted by white people, saying
becoming the stereotype that they're trying to run from.
Right, trying to get away from it, you still end up being it regardless.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's deep right there.
Yeah, well, we're going to wrap it up right there. That's a good way to wrap it up right there. We'll be back next week with the finale episode and talking about what's going on in the future with the show. So
We're watching this Janelle Monáe concert.
When is that? Then when is that?
They said it's for the finale. It's like a virtual reality concert she's doing for the finale.
I ain't heard about this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hit, but I'll check it out.
Yeah, definitely. I'll check it out. All right, everybody. See y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.